Hey everybody, thank you for listening to Filling in the Gaps. Be sure to check us out on our social media pages at Filling in the Gaps. From there you can get updates on show releases and anything special we may be doing. Sit back and enjoy the show. Should be a lot of fun.
Hey everybody, welcome out to another episode of Filling in the Gaps. My name is Rich, and I live in the great state of Ohio, and I'm joined once again by the everly creative and fantastic Cameron from the state of Texas. The two of us are two friends who met playing Overwatch. Me as my Reinhardt main self, and Cam, what were you playing when we met?
I was passed into the... I have not played Overwatch lately. I miss it. I guess it was Zen. It's got to be Zen.
You had to be Zen. But the two of us met playing Overwatch, started playing regularly together, and over time just started talking and talking and talking and talking. If you know the two of us, we love to talk about role-playing games, D&D, fantasy stories, writing our own stories, and that turned into this. Filling in the Gaps is a hour-long show where the two of us take a random theme and a random scenario and mash it together into a session that hopefully you can run during your next game night. We don't go into this with anything pre-prepared. We just roll our d20s and see what story comes out of it. Cameron, you said you had a shout-out for one of our listeners this week?
Yeah, Molly on Twitter.
Molly.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's our friend across the pond. Listener.
Top of the morning to you. I'm sorry I said that, Molly. You can hate me.
I'm
sorry.
First and foremost, that's not on our pre-prepared script for this episode, so
dang it. I'm
stop going off script. Yeah,
you
got to stop doing that, man. This is SNL. We stay on script.
We stay on script. No ad-lib here.
No, zero ad-lib. Anyways, before I was rudely interrupted, Molly, you and I have had some pretty cool conversations on Twitter, and you were telling me about how you're actually running the circus episode for your players, and they're sort of getting through it right now. Molly had a really cool take on the big bad in that episode. The circus is actually run by a evil corporation as opposed to a Rakshasa. Now,
Circus Corp.
Yeah. Oh my god, I want that. Can I have that
company?
Get into
your cubicle and perform your juggling, you clown.
There's just an elephant wearing like a tie, and he's like typing on a computer.
Tutu under the desk, tie above the desk.
Yeah. And then like the evil corporation boss walks by and he's all, Johnson! And that's the elephant's name. He's all, how are those TPS circus reports coming along? And he's all, look, I have told you 35 times, you have got to buy me a bigger keyboard. I keep crushing these because I'm an elephant.
No excuses, Johnson. We've got a lot of overhead we need to cover.
Here's the thing, Johnson. I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday, then some Sunday. We're making up a new day of the week, Evil Corporation. It's going to be called Schmlalde Day, and you're coming in that day as well. So, I'll see you then.
Poor Johnson. So his session is all about saving Johnson?
It should be now. So, Molly, if you don't do this...
There you go. You're welcome.
Yeah. Good job, us. It's really cool. I was like, holy crap, like he's running the circus for his players right now. It was like instant gratification in a lot of ways for me. I was sitting in my work truck just like, oh, please tell me more. I was all excited and everything. So that was a really cool experience for me.
Sweet.
Y'all have been super patient with our little extra ideas. We have just been trying to sort of work out some kinks on those and make sure that the stuff that we present to you sounds the best that it could possibly sound for your ears. Yeah, so I made some empty promises on like 2 episodes ago. That's my bad. You know, you're catching me now. You know, I was like, next episode, guys, we're going to do 14 hours straight podcast live on Twitch. I messed that up. So thank y'all for being patient, but we will gladly have those out as soon as we can. We just want to make sure that they're good and that they are coming from the right place. But for now, filling in the gaps should do the trick. Hey, Rich, I got a question for you real quick. What were you inspired by this week?
Okay, so my inspiration, I am back I am back at DMing for the first time in 3 months. I took a 3-month break. A friend of mine was DMing for our group, and I'm back. And man, it's not so much an inspiration, but one thing that happened last night in our session that I loved, and this is a NPC, so maybe this will show up in a later NPC episode, was they were going into this desert palace run by a crime lord. And this crime lord had created this desert oasis where all of these outcasts are going and staying there. So in his mind, he kind of, owns everything that's there because the land is his. And one of the people who he saved was a kobold named Scaly, which is a really, you can definitely tell I named this guy in the heat of the moment. But Scaly is the chambermaid. So whenever the players who were visiting requested something from him, they kind of started to pick up that he has this quirk whenever he's asked to get something for them. So at first, one of the players asks if there's any fresh clothes. So he's gone for a minute, and he comes back with a fresh robe, but then also just some gear that looks not so fresh, like some clothes that look kind of worn, and they're like, okay, well, do you have anything for us to wash up in? And he's like, sure. He leaves, and he comes back, and he's got this bucket, and I'm like, the bucket has soap in it. It's all ready to go. They reach in to start washing some stuff, and they notice that there's plates in the bottom of this bucket. So they're like, okay, that's weird. And over time, they realize that everything they're asking this kobold, Scaly, to get, he just goes out and he just takes. He just goes and steals it from someone. So he's like a kleptomaniac servant. But it was this really funny encounter of where are you getting these? We asked you for food. Where did you get this food from? And I don't know, it was a little fun NPC for the players to interact with.
So he's like Dobby and Rocket Raccoon. I don't know why I pronounced Rocket Raccoon that way, but Rocket Raccoon. Whatever. He's Dobby and Rocket Raccoon. He's Rocket and Dobby mixed together.
Yeah, I loved him. He was a lot of fun to play. So I don't know. It's cool just to have a little character like that, and to remember that sometimes those little side characters, a little goes a long way with them, because the players just had a ton of fun interacting with him and just asking him for stuff. So make those little side characters count. The players will enjoy them. But that's what inspired me.
And one of the most recent Neo Scum episodes I listened to for, like I said before, guys, Neo Scums are really fun. If you like actual plays and you don't want to listen to a D&D one, that's a Shadowrun actual play. It's a lot of fun, actually, to listen to. Those guys have a great time. But they one of the characters just a side character that was random, was a AI, an AI that had found its way into those vacuums that clean automatically throughout the house.
Sounds like a Roomba. This sounds
like
perfect.
a Roomba. Yeah, and it was like a sentient Roomba that had gone through a divorce from another Roomba.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was a pretty incredible thing. So I was sitting there just like, whoa,
this is beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, and it just happens over those little moments like that. It was pretty cool. I was like, man, that's a great time. I did not expect a Roomba to be one of the funniest characters in this episode, so I was like, I'll take it,
So what about you, Cam? Any inspiration this last week?
I was thinking about that on the ride home today, because I was just sort of racking my brain. One of the biggest things that I feel that has inspired me as of late has been our listeners. It's really cliche, so take it for what it is.
Suck up. Yeah. Brown noser. Boo. Sorry, you were supposed to cut me off, and now I just feel like an idiot.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna let you sit on that island of pain.
The fans are gonna love you more now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I actually have to have skill and talent for them to enjoy what I talk about. So that's all of you, my friend. No, sound effects. I was just thinking, when I was working nights and when I was working and just exhausted and all this kind of stuff, this was something that I had a lot of fun to come back to. It was like sort of my reprieve from my day to day. And then when I switched back after about that month of nights and switched back to days, we were just chatting, with, the Vectoriums of the worlds, the Duns, the Touftois, I cannot pronounce that person's name, Bears Driving, Heroes of Witten, Molly, all you guys, if I forget your name, I'm so sorry.
Now I'm their favorite again.
Yeah, exactly. But I have editing power, so I'm just going to cut.
Dang it.
Then boom, and I'm going to hit every single name that's ever talked to us before ever. It'll be great. No, but it was like, man, I just feel energized when I talk to them, and they make me want to go and just do more stuff and find more things, fun things. For example, Bears Driving showed me to this really cool map creator.
Dude, that map creator is awesome.
Incarnate.
Yeah,
amazing.
So I'm over here drawing maps like an idiot.
Yeah. I put together 2 maps already for the Brunswick Archipelago. I'm excited to release them. Y'all are awesome, and y'all are so much fun to deal with, and y'all stoke the flame for me, and it just makes me want to continue and work more and more and more on it. So that is, as corny as it sounds, I'm a real dude, man, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It is absolutely a pleasure just to be able to like sit there and do stuff that people somewhat enjoy, and it makes me feel fulfilled. So I'm going to start crying now.
Sam, Cam, we all know that you are a big sap. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can let it out. This is a safe spot for you, Cam. You can
Thanks, man.
You can let it all out.
Yeah, because I'm 6'3", 240 pounds, and bald, and with a beard. Like, most people do not get to see the sap side. And I work in construction. I wear boots and jeans all the time, so definitely not a lot of sap coming out of me over here. But you know what? I there is one thing that comes to mind about something, and I wanted to ask.
Okay, well, go ahead. Yeah, shoot.
Hey, Rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shall we roll?
I was hoping and dreaming and wishing that you would ask that one, Cam. Of course, yes, I'll roll with you, Cam. Yes. Sorry, I felt like that was an appropriate way after talking.
You haven't met my parents yet, but I just know it's right. I just know it's right. By the way, I have my arms up in the air like it's a touchdown. It's touchdown time.
So,
and you know what's funny is I said touchdown time like I don't know what football is, but I'm like,
it's a field goal touch. Yay!
Shooting all those 3-pointers and kicking all those hockey pucks. Let's do this thing.
Now
we roll.
Who's rolling for what today?
I am doing scenarios, and you're doing themes.
Okay, all right, let's go ahead. We got our new list with all the help from you faithful listeners. If you guys got any more ideas, continue to throw them our way, because we love. I love rolling something that's been suggested, because to me it feels like now we're all being a part of something. But yeah, let's go ahead and roll.
Here we go. Interesting.
Dude, I rolled, and this makes me feel a little bit sad, because I rolled a natural 20, and I know we're talking about what to do with critical hits when we roll them, but we haven't figured it out yet.
We haven't figured it out exactly.
I'll probably never roll a 20 ever again. But okay, 20 for ooh. Okay, so 20 for themes is
parallel
worlds. That's awesome. Okay,
and I rolled a 6. And that gives us stealing an artifact. That's going to be great.
Ooh, that's going to be so cool. Okay.
Indiana.
But in another dimension, so we get to play that backwards.
No, his name is Montana Smith.
Montana Smith.
Hey everybody, it's me, Montana Smith. I got a sweet whip.
And I'm a Nazi.
I'm also super tan. Yeah, and he's a Nazi. This has gone off the rails already.
Yep. Yes, it has.
Terrible.
Okay, so story. So I was playing in a session once, run by our friend Aaron, who you know as Eggs, and he was doing a session. The guy loves time travel stuff and multiple dimension stuff. And in this world, he had us go into essentially the Feywild, but it was mixed with like a mirrored dimension. They were some of my favorite sessions. So in the session that we went in, every time that we did something on our side of the world, it had an inverse effect on the other side. So for instance,
okay, how does that work mechanically?
I don't know at all how it worked mechanically, but some of the stuff that I remembered was for my character, Xander. He was a technomancer wizard who was 11 and had a -2 to his constitution score. And I'll tell you what, that definitely wasn't a bad decision. But he ended up going down at one point during combat. just like, going unconscious, making death saving throws, but he was picked up. So in the opposite world, Xander, in that side, he went down and he died, and another character like lost his arm, like trying to save him. So we're going through, and we get to the end, and there's this room with this dish, like this bowl, almost like this altar in the middle of the room, and we walk up to it, and as we walk up to it, we see that, there's our reflection in this kind of glass mirror wall that splits the bowl in half, and we can see in our reflection that, my character's not there. The character who's kind of my mentor, he's missing like half of his arm. One of our other characters, and it kind of just created this whole moment of, in order to bring the two worlds back together, we had to pick a side, and my character had to pick like which side to stay on, and it was kind of crazy because like my character, I'm playing this 11-year-old, and he's like, I don't want to leave my friends to go with people who might not be my friends, and it was this. I had this cool moment with a character who just always is like stoic and the same. And it was a cool. I can't explain it well right now in the moment, but as a player, I think there's a lot of cool ways where we can do parallel dimension stuff and show our characters and our players the what ifs, like the what would have happened if, or what would have happened if way back then. And I think that's something as a player who sat through it that I loved. So I'm excited to go through this one. What about you?
For sure.
Either stealing an artifact or parallel worlds. What's something that immediately jumps out to you?
Stealing an artifact definitely is something that's really, really cool because of the effects that it can have on those parallel worlds. Maybe there's something that artifact is doing that's causing the parallel worlds to start a fracture or pulling them all together, and you're starting to see multiplicity in the different people or different beings throughout the world. And so stealing this artifact away from maybe a big bad or something like that can sort of bring balance back to the world, if you will. I was also thinking like stealing an artifact, it would be a lot of fun instead of having a big bad, of having sort of the world itself being the enemy in a way. Sort of like the dangers of the wild. I like the idea. Obviously I say Indiana Jones because he's easily the most famous artifact stealer of all time. Well, I don't know if that's actually true or not. I don't know if you know what? To me, Indiana, you're the best. So
if you're out there listening,
I love you. Also, let me ask one more person. Hey, Valley Girl Wizard, what's up?
Oh my gosh.
Hey, is Indiana Jones the best artifact stealer of all time? Listen, I have stolen artifacts for the last 45 years. Nobody's better than Valley Girl Wizard, okay? See you later.
Oh my, she would.
She's all about her.
Real quick, as you're continuing to talk, I've got an idea off of something you said, but I need to look it up to see how the rules work. What's the artifact in D&D called? Is it the Deck of Many Things? Or is there another deck too, like the Deck of Destiny or something like that?
The Deck of Destiny sounds amazing.
It does sound amazing. I don't think that's it though. It might be
the deck of. I'm looking at the Deck of Many Things right now, actually, and on Roll20.
I feel like that might not be it, but
Whoa, that's really crazy. There's a lot of stuff on this thing.
So, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it was the Deck of Many Things. So this is what I was thinking. You had said something about how an artifact is kind of like affecting all of these multiple different worlds, and I love that. So, like, the picture I have in my mind, I don't want it to be a Rubik's Cube, but just for the idea of, like, this shifting and changing artifact, like where people can like grab a hold of it and shift it. That's the image I get in my head, is of some kind of artifact that you can put back together, or like shift around for different things. Now I had this idea a long time ago for like DMs who like a little bit of craftiness, of taking a Rubik's Cube and like either not spray painting it, but maybe spray painting it, recoloring it somehow, and then putting some symbols on it that represent like different things. So it would be cool to almost take a Rubik's Cube, recolor it, put different symbols on it somehow, and kind of make it into a deck of many things. And as they solve, this Rubik's Cube, it has an effect either in their dimension or in an opposite dimension, and those effects that you feel in your dimension are the deck of many things. Like some of the things that I'm seeing right here is change alignment instantly, either for you or for your opposite dimension self. You're imprisoned. What does that mean? Does someone come from another dimension? Like we can flavor this whole deck of many things to work with this alternate dimension thing. Lose 10,000 experience points. That sucks, but it goes to your alternate universe self, or like vice versa. You gain experience from
and
them.
Rich, this could lead to two different versions. Like this could lead it to where this alternate dimension is taking these lumps in a way for you and causing essentially a Dark Link, like a Legend of Zelda Dark Link scenario.
Yes,
where it's like this just pissed off evil version of yourself. It's just like, why is this guy punching me in the balls all the time?
Yep. I love that.
I can see him doing this. Also, I love the idea of you going with a puzzle, like a physical puzzle that represents multiple dimensions or parallel worlds or something like that.
Oh yeah, and with a Rubik's Cube type thing, it would be easy. I'm looking at like the plaques that are on these cards, or like the symbols of them. So you could do like, if you wanted to do like cards, you could do like a deck of cards and have it work like that. But with a Rubik's Cube, some of the plaques for these different cards is, for instance, the one where you gain experience points. The symbol is of a jester. The one where you immediately lose all wealth and poverty, it's of like a ruined tower. There's one where your friends turn against you. It's like a rogue or a dagger, and you could simply like color this Rubik's Cube just like black on all sides. You could even just use a Sharpie if you wanted to, and then you could just draw like a simple shape on the Rubik's Cube of that symbol. So when they solve it for the tower, that one thing happens. Or when they solve it for like maybe a fire, you could even make up your own symbols that have these different effects. It doesn't have to be these ones, but it'd be a really cool way of having a physical puzzle in the room that one of your friends is trying to solve, and when they do, all of a sudden like these big things happen. And they don't have to solve the whole thing; they just solve one side. And that would my gosh! What if you
can break it down, and instead of doing it whole sides, break it down into like the 3 lines that run across it.
Yes.
So that you're not having to solve full sides.
Yep.
Of it all and stuff like that. And then once it fully solves, that could be sort of the end of it all. What were you going to say though? You had a lot of excitement to your voice.
So I have a very high intelligence, so of course I watch Rick and Morty. And
super smart.
Yes,
so much better than all the other fans. Yeah.
I'm like the best fan. I bathe in Szechuan sauce. Just so you don't know. Or just so
I got in a literal fist fight with a manager from McDonald's one time because they didn't have enough.
So this idea I had is, what if it's similar to how in that session I was in, where I was in a room and you could see your opposite self, but in mine it was kind of like, oh, look at our sad opposite selves. How are we going to like make ourselves get along? What if you are in a dungeon or something like that? Or the scenario is you're put into a situation where only one of your universe selves can survive.
Can make it out.
So it's your universe party versus another universe party, and every party, like I see this image of like, here's this Rubik's Cube on this like pedestal that reaches into 6 different dimensions, and like you and 6 other versions of yourself pick it up at the same time, and all of your parties are trying to solve it and racing against each other.
That's so good.
Trying to figure out who's
awesome.
And as you're solving one side, one corner just completely disappears. But at the same time, some players are going to have that feeling of like, do we have to do it this way? Do I have to kill myself to live? Or they're going to have that feeling of like having to wrestle with that afterwards.
Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you right now, well, depending on my character, if Cameron is the character, I'd be like, yep, I'm sorry, dude. You're dead. And I would expect that from my other selves, as well. They'd all be like looking at each other going, yeah, you're dead. And that's just the way it's going to be.
Yep.
Dude,
yep.
Rich, that's a sick ass idea, bro.
I don't know what to do with it though. Like in what situation?
You gotta get your toes at the end of the board, bro, and you gotta ride that wave, man. You gotta do it.
Just gotta ride that wave.
That's a sick ass idea, bro.
Okay, so that's our artifact. But how are we stealing it? What's the scenario built around stealing this artifact?
Well, I think maybe okay. So maybe the hook is the steal, the artifact, right?
Yeah.
But what it really could be is like bring back a big bad that's maybe disguising themselves as somebody that's just presenting your players with this really cool quest to go get this thing that gives them power, or gives them a lot of, he could sort of be tricking them into going to get that, knowing that if he was able to do plane shifts or able to move about the different parallel dimensions, he's sort of initiating these wicks of the candles moving all in the same direction. And he knows that once everyone touches this artifact to go to steal this artifact, if it's a juicy enough artifact that provides enough benefit for your party, that once they touch it, the trap has been sprung, essentially. And so the stealing of the artifact, in my mind, could be the hook. What do you think about that, where it's maybe more of a ruse than anything else?
Ooh, I do like that. Especially, you have to have it where you can't just walk in there and take the artifact. Like, there has to be some kind of, like a switch or a hook or a trap blade. As you were talking, I was looking through the good old monster manual, and I landed on a monster I thought maybe could work with this whole parallel dimension thing. They're called Modrons, Modrons, and
are they little mechanoid?
Yes.
Yes, I saw those the other day, and that's exactly the right way to go with this.
Yeah, because they live in a plane of existence ruled by someone named Mechanus. No, they live in the plane of Mechanus. And their whole entire existence, they live in the plane, in the part of the universe that embodies law, that embodies like lawful, neutral, everything. That's why they're machines. Everything works like a machine. Everything functions this way. And with these Modrons, I think that makes sense that they would have this artifact that is all about the multiple dimensions, and I think it's probably under lock and key, or at least it makes sense that they would see the chaos created by multiple dimensions and them overlapping, and want to keep that from being something that anybody has access to. So so in Mechanus, Primus, that's his name. Primus has put this thing under lock and key. He's got his Modrons defending it, and you are sent there for whatever reason. I mean, some possible hooks, and please help me to think of some of these as well as I'm just throwing them out there. It could be as simple as someone close to your players die, like a loved one dies, and you begin to hear rumors, or if they're looking for a way to save them, they hear of this idea that there's supposedly this artifact that can bring back loved ones. They don't have to know exactly how it works, but there's this artifact that lets you, I wouldn't say time travel, but it lets you alter your reality, and it's kept in this plane of existence. And or maybe it could be that, it could be as simple as just someone is like, hey, I want you to get this artifact. This is what it does. Or you could be hired by a faction. Like, you could even be hired by like a state figure. Almost like imagine the whole scenario of, if I could go back in time, I would totally kill Hitler. It could be something like that, where this king or this spy group is saying, hey, we need to go back and change time. We need to have an effect on reality. Right. Let's grab this artifact. It'll surely help us do it. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I think what the biggest thing is in these moments when we're creating these hooks for the players, we have to literally we have to understand what makes our players tick.
Yes.
And that's where reading our players' backstories and truly understanding. Look, I understand that players' backstories can get heavy at times, and they can get cumbersome to read, but at the same time, that's where the value comes from in terms of creating a good playing experience for them. So if you use one of those background things, like what you said a few episodes ago, where you're like, oh my god, he brought up this thing, I can't believe that he brought up this thing, guys, I need to do this. If you've got that good camaraderie with your players, you're able to sort of hook that in. Like, say for example, like you said, it's the death of an NPC that they were close to. That's a huge one right there. It could be that one player is dead set on finding a specific gem or artifact or something like that, or a book that completes a collection that they've been trying to do. Maybe they're a researcher or something like that. all those little things can be hooked into this and played upon, I think, for that. I also was thinking as well for the types of enemies, because I was talking on Twitter with a few of our listeners about this, finding ways to make it to where like the actual enemies themselves are sort of puzzle based, and mechanical in ways. I know that these Modrons are that way, but instead of just being, this is all the spells and these are all the attacks that they have, maybe these Modrons spend time trying to form together to make one, giant mechanical beast, or there's different tests.
Ooh, I really like that. Yep.
You know what I mean? Because here, the biggest thing to me is that I think we're going in the right direction of having the players finding out that they are all grabbing this device at the same time as 6 other dimensions or something to that nature, and the first one out survives. That is such a badass idea in my mind that I feel like we have to go with that direction.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Like this picture I'm picturing in my mind too is, so you're in this room, and you've grabbed this artifact, and as you do, like Primus knows that you're grabbing it. So these Modrons are just pouring into this chamber. So as somebody's solving it, you are constantly, and maybe, dude, okay, I'm thinking more than talking. I'm just going to keep talking. So you grab the artifact. Player A grabs the artifact, and they're trying to solve it, and Modrons just pour into this room, which means what your players are seeing through their characters' eyes is this this room of mirrors of all of themselves trying to solve this puzzle as the room just fills up with Modrons. So there's just Modrons in every dimension all over the place. And the players, if you put enough pressure on the players who are solving the puzzle, there could even be this mechanic where they have to toss the puzzle, and whoever currently has the puzzle is getting all the attention on them. And the players are even tossing this puzzle around the table, trying to solve this puzzle, passing it to each other as they're trying to fight.
And they use those, turns in combat that takes actions and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So instead of attacking, my action this turn is attempt to solve the puzzle, and then they get a minute to try to move it about or something like that.
Exactly.
I had another idea.
Action.
I had another idea for that too, by the way.
Then let me just get this out. It could be an action. Mechanically, it could be an action to take I would even say less time, 10 or 15 seconds to try to solve the puzzle, and then it could be a bonus action to throw it to somebody else. That way, maybe combat isn't even that huge of a thing. You're just constantly okay, who's next after me? Okay, here, you try to solve it for a little bit. Because the race is, you don't want another dimension to solve this puzzle before you do. And you could even, as combat's going on, show you can see in one world, or you hear the muffled shouts of other dimension you, in dimension C or whatever, solving the puzzle, and all of a sudden dimension F, the whole entire world just fills up with fire or water, or just blinks and it's gone, or everyone's suddenly in space, and then all of a sudden your party's we have to solve this thing.
I think I've got an idea for this.
Okay.
So we have the first room, right?
Yeah.
And the Modrons pour in. Mm-hmm. As your players are solving it, once they fill one line of the cube, for example. Mm-hmm. By the way, I know a lot of this is based on the idea that a player group can figure out the Rubik's Cube. I know if you threw a Rubik's Cube at me, I would have a hard time with it.
Me too. There are other puzzles, though.
Yeah, there are. But say, for example, we solve one portion of the Rubik's Cube in this case, right? Boom, Rubik's Cube lights up.
Yep.
That beam right there, the whatever portion they solve, that symbol that's across that line, is represented, and that action happens or something of that nature or whatever, and then you see what you said happens, okay, and one of the dimensions goes away, and then you see across the room the Modrons all pour back out, and the light above a door goes bloom, and you go through that door, and there's a new challenge, right? Maybe now there's water rising and you're trying to solve this puzzle before you all drown or something like that. Boom, solve the next one. You see the next room completely filled with water, and then bodies float lazily.
Dude.
And another door lights up. Boom, room empties. Doom, and you go to the next room and challenge until you finally see the next or the last room could be the the other party, all beaten, battered, and broken. Maybe you lost members on the way, or they did, or something like that, and they meet in this room, combat against yourself, and that's the final challenge to get to access and hold the cube.
Okay, so as you were talking, and I was like picturing this in my mind, what if, to add some like new flavor to that, what if it wasn't you go from one room to another to another to another? What if, going back to this idea, I'm picturing you're in this like prismy glass room, and on every reflection,
because we are doing parallel worlds, right?
Yeah, and every other like space, so every other dimension is like parallel to you, like literally in this room, and it's kind of like built on each other. So let's say you solve one of the sides of the cube, and in that dimension, it fills that dimension just with water, and everyone in there dies. Now, two things that could be like sweet to happen is that dimension gets destroyed or whatever, so that part of this glass room shatters and begins bleeding into these other dimensions. So that dimension fills with water, shatters, now there's water, and that dimension's modrons are filling now into these other dimensions. And does part of thinking about this make my brain hurt a little bit? And will some of your players be a little bit like, wait, what? What's happening? The dimensions are overlaying? Yes, they are. That's why Primus was like, this thing is terrible. We cannot let this thing just be somebody's toy. And so then you could even have like, it doesn't shatter immediately. So one dimension is filling up with water, and you can see it starting to pour in. Another is filling up with lava. Another is filling up with kittens, I don't know, whatever. But your players,
lots of poop,
and your players are like, crap. We now have to like figure out how we're gonna like hop on top of these swarms of modrons, or hop on top of these like stones, hop on top of whatever, and just be moving about as these dimensions are literally shattering and exploding into each other.
Right.
Until, like you said, it's the final two, and the final two, there is no who solves it first before like a dimension gets destroyed. It's just already so broken that, like you said, when it gets down to just two groups, that's when combat ensues.
Yeah. Okay. I like that a lot, because that plays more. Because consider me a simplistic mind individual, where I like the idea of like, doom doom doom, next room please. But in terms of like really pushing the players and really making them think and really exciting them, your crushing or like crashing dimensions idea really plays into the theme a lot better, in my opinion, and B, it just makes the players go like, we have to go. Like, we've got to get this thing figured out ASAP, because look right there, like literally right there, those guys, that's me, and I'm on fire. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yep. And they have these little moments.
It's a blessing / curse I have. Like in the back of my mind, there's always that like one of those epic movie tracks where it's like ba 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 bum 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 ba 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 ba, and it's just so sometimes I get some really cool ideas, and other times I try to do too much cool stuff at once, and it just gets cluttered, and it's like everyone's like, what's happening? What?
No,
so,
I thought it made perfectly good sense. I thought it was awesome.
Okay.
That's exactly what we should do. No. Don't beat yourself over with that. That's exactly what we need to do, is the crushing dimensions and the dimensions exploding as things get solved. No, 100%.
Okay.
Rich. Hey, real quick, Rich.
Yeah.
I just want to say something, man. I'm here for you, dude.
Oh,
okay?
Thanks,
all right.
Cam.
I got a big boat, okay?
Thank you.
It's called SS Love, all right?
Oh.
And we sail the seas of passion and happiness and romance all day.
I'm going to buy me a ticket. Romance? What?
Don't ask questions, okay?
This is
the SS Love.
Okay, so as we were talking, anything else pop out to you? Anything else on what we could do with this? What leads up to this combat? Who hires this person? What does Primus do after this artifact? After you get it, how do you escape? All questions.
So you've just gotten done, sort of beaten the beating the other version of you, the shadow version of you, or something like that, and you've made it out scot-free, and you have this amazingly powerful artifact in your hands, fully solved, fully something. So then, what's his name again? Optimus Prime?
Primus, yes. Prime.
Optimus Prime. So he comes out and he's all Autobots. I mean, little machine guys. The Modrons then become that, larger entity, sort of made up of multiple Modrons.
Oh my gosh, dude! In Mordenkainen's, M-Man's in the new D&D book, I'm just now remembering they released a crazy difficult new enemy that's like one of Primus's top guards. It looks like intense. What
is it called?
I wish I had the book with me to look it up. Yeah, I know, right? I left it in my car. Go figure. But I love the idea of them forming into this giant thing. Okay, keep going. Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, no, I just think, and they all represent maybe something of each of the realms or the parallel worlds that were destroyed before.
Yeah. Well, like we were
that.
talking about too, the Modrons, since they're all about lawful, neutral, and their plane's all about order, I think even looking at the Modrons, dude, this makes sense. Modrons, when they die, they don't like cease to exist. They disintegrate, and their body like goes back to the plane of Mechanus, where Primus like remakes them into another Modron. So I even like this idea of as each dimension's Modrons are dying, you have all this Modron dust just filling and forming together into one big thing in the middle of the room. So the whole time as you're killing these Modrons, you're also like, I don't like the look of this thing forming in the middle of the room.
Right, like a foot starts to form, and then like different portions of its body start to form.
Dude, another way of taking the final fight with your party too could be that the giant Modron thing forms, shatters the wall between the two dimensions, and starts fighting both you and your other dimension party at the same time. Yeah, and it could be as simple as like when your archer player's like, I'm going to shoot my bow. You as the DM say, oh my gosh, this could be so cool. Okay, so instead of the two dimensions fighting against each other, they're working together.
With each other?
Yep.
Yes.
Which now means that you have, even if your players, it's probably a crazy challenge rating, this enemy, but you are now giving your players the option to make essentially double turns. You just give them two of themselves, which might slow it will slow down combat a little bit.
It will slow down combat, yeah. But it would also, but you could do like little quirks to their parallel self that you could take liberties with their character because it's a parallel version, a parallel world.
Yes. Yep.
You could be maybe your warrior is now less of a warrior and more of a mage, or something like that in those different worlds. And so they get to, in this little scenario, play around with a type of class that they might not have picked in the first place.
Yeah.
And that just gives them a chance to put on some new shoes.
Yeah, I think that all comes down to the size of the party. If it's a smaller party, you could do something more varied like that, because then they're like, oh, okay, I always want to see what my character was like as a mage. If it's a big party, it could be as simple as mechanically making that you just have two pawns. They both move. Yeah. You choose where they move, but whatever action you pick, it's just doubled. If you're casting fireball, it's 2 fireballs. If you're shooting an arrow, it's 2 arrows. If you're swinging a sword, it's 2 swings. And there could be even some cool like dual imagery too, of like it's stinking Pokemon the first movie. It's
brother, it is. We did it,
my brother. Tell me.
By the way, I 100% cried in that movie.
Oh, dude. Okay, so funny story that has nothing to do with D&D. Me and my old childhood friend were watching Pokemon the first movie as like college students. We're over at his house like, hey, remember this movie? Let's watch it. And we are on his laptop in his living room, like no one else is home. And we watch the scene where Ash gets turned to stone and all the Pokemon are crying. Spoilers, sorry if you haven't seen this movie yet, what's wrong with you? And all the Pokemon are crying. And me and my friend, like, we're tearing up. And all of a sudden, as that happens, my friend's sisters all come into the room and we slam the laptop shut because we were embarrassed about crying. And I definitely think that all of his sisters, what we were really doing was having a heartfelt moment crying over Pokemon. What they think we were doing was watching porn and crying.
Yeah.
So to this day, I'm like, I wish I could.
Why am I laughing? Isn't that the way everyone watches porn?
What? What? Can't? Are
Porn?
you?
What is porn? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I watch porn for most of the stories. That's where I get a lot of my DM.
There are a lot of great D&D hooks. Yep.
Yeah.
Some of the stories, man. Oof.
Pizza delivery gone wrong. Wonderful DM hook.
That's a great hook. We'll add that into the list.
That's a really, really, really funny, man. That's hilarious how that
so
works out.
It's that dual mirroredness of like you have yourselves fighting together, which means you can take on a bigger foe. But hey, here's the thing: like worst comes to worst, this boss does not have to pull punches because it can. If it is a literal exact copy of your players in that room, you can just indiscriminately kill one of your players' characters now. It could be from the opposite dimension, or it could be from this dimension.
Oh, I love that.
And you can just straight up be like, yeah, he's evaporated, or he's cut in half, and your players will feel like, oh crap. But at the same time, you now can make that boss look menacing, while also knowing that you have a fallback. So what if version A is making death saving throws, version B is fine?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like which version am I dealing with at the end if one of them dies or something like that?
Exactly.
And it's also they get to move on to back to their worlds, but which world are they from? And then it's like that Spider-Man meme, and they're both pointing at each other.
Yes. Yes.
I was also going to say, what was I thinking of right there? The imagery for your players, because combat does take a little bit longer, but then again, it doesn't because we've shortened it up to one, attack at the same time.
Yeah.
The imagery is really, really cool.
Isn't
for
it?
the player at that time right there.
Especially like since you've been fighting with yourself this whole time.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as like, this big boss happens, the shatter happens, and then if none of your players are inclined to be like, yo, we've got to work together to beat this thing, you could have one of their opposite selves be like, yo, stalemate, we got to figure this thing out. And I just think, for me, I'm like, I want to play in that. That just sounds super cool to have my character, like my character and his other self, like casting fireball over each other's shoulders, or like my one warrior helping the other one backflip up into this thing's face. Like that could be sick.
Oh god, that's gonna be so sick, man. It's
because
just
of course you've got that like twin telepathy now. You know exactly what you're gonna do, so you can just you're perfectly in sync.
That's a badass feeling. I mean, just think about how helping yourself, and you just grab your feet and just throw your feet and just do like a little cool triple backflip, and then you stab that big giant monster. I really wish we could know what that monster's name was, because I would love to know what that big beast of thing is. I do sort of like the idea that it's like a Power Ranger Megabot, where it comes together and like one of the Mordons is the arm and one of the Mordons is the head, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be. I'm Googling. Keep talking. I'm keep filling the airwaves with your beautiful voice, Cameron. I'm gonna find out what this thing is called.
Hey everybody, it's me, Cameron. We're gonna take a quick segue away from filling in the gaps to start a nice new music number that I've been working on for about 3 weeks, and here we go. Love. No, I'm just kidding. But no, dude, it's so we've gotten obviously the big part of it is getting the the stealing the artifact. I like the hook around that being the bad guy tricking the players into going to grab something that could potentially, sort of cause a fracture amongst the parallel worlds. The idea of mirroring the parallel worlds, like if you've ever been in a gym and you look in a mirror and the mirror's behind you as well, and you just see like 1,000 of you. I love that imagery so very much. This has I like to think tonally when it comes to stories as well. Hear me out on this one. Color tone is what I mean by that. Ooh. And what I mean is like because if you play Fallout 3 is like a greenish sort of gray-green tone. Fallout New Vegas is like a brown-yellowish tone. Fallout 4 is more of like a bluish sort of opaque, I don't know, more of like a bluish beige tone. And then in this right here, I see gold. I see very vibrant brasses and golds and gears and sort of like the old dwarven fortresses from Skyrim, I think is what they were.
Yep. Dude, that could be
That's
sweet.
that's sort of how I envision it. You know,
for
like
sure.
This, like Steam world, if you will, but it's
Okay.
like set in that type of scenario.
I found him. I found his name for all of you who do not have the book but want to Google and see what this thing looks like. Is called the, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to guess it's Marut, Marut. I'm not
Whoa, that thing is awesome,
Isn't
looking.
it? I'm trying to find its challenge rating. But I'm going to
Well,
guess.
it's like a rhino.
I'm
And
gonna-
dude, it works perfectly. The dust sort of plays into it exactly.
Yeah. So this thing,
Big-
it has this giant. It's got this giant eye in the center of it that is about almost half the size of a human. It is this huge giant. Whereas all the other Modrons are kind of cutesy and kind of square, this one's like spikes everywhere, giant talon arms, huge mechanical like greaves and a chest plate, and it's just all armor and all death. And when law needs to be brought back to the galaxy, this is what gets sent out to do it. So I love the idea
My
of this thing
God.
being like what tries to stop your players.
Right. That's amazing. You know, he has a I sometimes mess up the name of these, but a Gensai, is that how you pronounce it? Or a Gensai? It's the elemental, the earth elemental, air elemental. It's a class you can play in D&D.
Yes.
They have a little. He has a little bit of an earth Gensai look to him.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool in some of the, I guess, iterations of the Marut, because there's some Maruts there. From what I'm looking at online, there's like 18 different versions of what it feels like.
Oh dang. Okay, so this
Yeah.
thing, it has a challenge. It's a challenge rating 25. So for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that this thing is considered a difficult challenge for 4 level 25 characters, and I think D&D only goes up to like 20. So this thing is tough even for people who are essentially considered to be on the fighting level of gods. That being said, it'll need a little bit of tweaking. I'm looking at one of its moves right now, essentially slam. It has a...
How's that?
It has an automatic hit. There is no plus to hit. The plus is it hits. Literally reading from the monster manual, automatic hit. Deals 60 damage.
That's insane. Well, here's the thing, though. We're in a sort of a parallel world, and we have the help of our own selves times 2, essentially. There is also the possibility that your players could try to save more than one dimension too.
Also true. And this thing
Or
could just be there the
parallel.
whole time, because here's something else.
Growing.
As I'm reading through the book on this guy, it has a move called Justify. The Marut targets up to 2 creatures it can see within 60 feet of it. Each target must succeed on a DC 20. That can be changed because DC 20 is kind of high. Charisma saving throw, unless your players are level 20, in which case hold nothing back. Anyway, they must succeed on a DC 20 charisma saving throw or be teleported to a teleportation circle in the Hall of Concordance in Sigil. Which is essentially, I'm not too sure, but I'm imagining that's in the plane Mechanus, and Primus is probably there. It's probably a prison. Anyway, a target fails automatically if it is incapacitated, and after teleporting this way, the Marut can't use this action again until it finishes a short or long rest. Now, could word it, especially if you're fighting with like multiple dimension selves, where either parts of maybe part of... I'm sorry, I'm saying part over and over and over again.
You're fine.
Alternate versions of yourself could be just getting straight murked by this Marut, or it could be like teleporting them into the other destroyed dimensions. So it's like, okay, here's dimension of lava that's just pouring into the room, and all of a sudden, version C of myself just gets teleported into the lava. Wow, that sucks. Or this one gets just teleported, and it's just this juggernaut of order. I love this thing as an enemy. If you choose to run it, if you have any ideas, please let me know how you power it down. Because
it definitely needs a power down.
Cause I'm imagining if you're running level 7s against this thing, even if you have a party of 5, so now you have a party of 10 level 7s fighting this thing. I mean, it has 432 health. Its AC is 22. It's going to be one-shotting people. So I'm imagining you have to do some heavy nerfing to the sucker.
Well, so this is the cool thing about it, though. You could run that, right? Or you could run the Autobots. What?
Okay, what if also...
Did somebody die?
No, I'm thinking what if... Yes, someone just died in the room with me. But
God.
What if as you're solving the artifact... Okay, so the artifact's still here. Totally forgot about it. So what if this thing is just still crazy, intimidatingly powerful, but whenever you solve a corner of the artifact, it's trying to keep the world in order. So now, once it's around, when you solve a part of the artifact, it then absorbs all the chaos caused by the artifact and causes it to temporarily shut down, which means while it's shut down, it's just a huge target. All attacks hit, all actions taken against it succeed for at least one round. And that could be where you can chisel through a lot of that 400 health if every attack automatically succeeds.
Yeah, and that's a very video game boss like thing of you.
Yep.
You know, the ever power, like there's a boss in the newest God of War that's a dragon, and you lure it into moments where it's sort of exposed, and then once you expose it, then you go nuts on this sort of dormant beast.
Yep.
And then it wakes back up, and you sort of rinse, repeat. And depending on the amount of damage that your players can do, that could last, X amount of rounds. But I do dig that as well. And again, you could also just run the Autobot version of those little smaller guys all coming together and sort of make your own. Your own big bad
who
at
was
that
that,
point.
the
right there.
Destructicons?
Yeah, the Decepticons
so cool.
is what they would be called, but these would be called Mordonicons. Mordonicons.
Assemble.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I'd say that's a good. It's weird because that one has like quite a bit of stuff to it, but I think there's a good beginning, middle, and end to it as well. You've got your sort of swerves, if you will, for the players themselves, and you've got definitely quite a bit of motivation based off of just visual cues for your players on top of that as well. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to it, though? I'm trying to think. Trying to wrap my brain on it.
I've been gasping and coming up with the stuff this whole session. I think this sounds... It's a little bit different. So it definitely, this could be this. I feel like hopefully this is a room, or this is an artifact, or this is something that you can incorporate into a session. We didn't provide as much as a beginning to this as we usually do, but I think we came up with a huge ending. So hopefully this sparks some kind of idea in you guys' head. But no, I'm tapped out. I'm dry. I think that's all I got.
Okay. Well, being that you are dry and flapping in the wind across a clothesline right now, I would like for you to provide us a nice little synopsis that I will lay some wonderful music on over later.
All right. Okay. Mordrons surround you, their clanking and metal gears ricocheting around the room. As you glance up, you see multiple other dimensions through planes of glass shattering into each other. Over onto your left, you can see that as one dimension solves a puzzle, another across the room fills with lava, its dimension bursting and pouring into your own. Sweat begins to drip down your head as you frantically try to solve the puzzle before throwing it to a friend of yours. All of a sudden, a large shrieking sound of metal rubbing against metal turns your head as you look behind you. A giant Modron, a Marut, shatters all of the dimensions into one room. Lava, water, kittens, poop, all pour into one room along with 3 other versions of yourself. All of you immediately look at each other, know exactly what you're thinking, and decide that you have to team up to take down the Marut. Will you be able to survive one of the inevitables, or will you die here? Or even worse, will another version of you live on and take your place in your world? Tune in next time to see on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Because that is the Dragon Ball Z episode right there.
Yeah. Coming next time, is Goku going to punch yourself into the next dimension? Are you Goku? Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, that's what I got. That's my that's my synopsis.
That was wonderful. That was absolutely a wonderful synopsis. By the way, I found a Marut version of Wolverine. Wolverine, like the actual X-Men, but turned into a Marut.
Oh gosh, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah, Google is awesome.
Google's a beautiful thing.
I found some great shit on this. Okay, guys. So, last but not least, we talk about our social medias. Follow us on the internet. You know how to follow us. You can go and find us on Filling in the Gaps. We've got a subreddit. It has been going pretty badass. We're going to be doing a post today, and I try to do a post every other day on there. If you want to hear more stuff, let me know.
Community's great. Stuff. If you need any ideas, like seriously, hop on there. Like put a post up. People are awesome. We've been bouncing ideas like all over the place, so join us.
Yes. Instagram, we do a bunch of really cool stuff there. Rich is running that, and it is awesome every single time. Twitter is badass as well. Have a lot of fun there. Post a lot of GIFs, a lot of words, and I retweet the hell out of really cool contests as well. So if y'all see me retweeting, it's most of the time me trying to get some little cool Twitter contest for y'all. Maybe you can earn some books or dice or anything like that. I always think those are a lot of fun. Blah, 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 blah. We don't have any other no Facebooks. No
YouTube.
Face.
We could talk about the
YouTube.
I don't know if it'll be out by the time this episode comes out, but we're working on the tactics episode, which will be something just specific to YouTube. I don't think it carries over as well over podcast, but Cam and I have been working on Table Talks, which is more of a scripted. Let's talk about a topic, and I'm kind of excited for it. Hopefully it looks kind of cute. Can I say cute? It looks super tough and cool, man.
Literally when you watch it, razor blades fly out of your hands.
Yeah,
and
you
smell like gasoline.
No, but it's got you smell like gasoline. But it's got like a cartoon feel to it. The episode itself, the first one, I wanted to talk about something I'm doing with my party called Party Tactics. It's all about how if you fight a certain way, your party does it better because you've decided to do it beforehand. But you guys have to check it out. It'll be on YouTube. Of course, we'll let you know when it's up. But that's all I got. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you like our episodes, if you're enjoying them, please feel free to share them. Let other people know about them. We have a really cool community that I feel like is growing day by day. Y'all are so much fun to interact with. Keep doing that. If you haven't left a review, please do. It helps us out immensely. My mom has made about 8 iTunes accounts, and so far we're doing great
Mom.
With all those reviews.
Thanks, Cam's mom.
I'm just joking. Of course, y'all have already left reviews, and they are great as well. I really do appreciate those. Beyond that, guys, we're just very, very, very thankful for everything that y'all do. So, Rich,
awesome.
It's up to you, man. You can close out.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. We will. We hope that you guys got some awesome ideas off of this podcast. If you do, let us know, and we will be seeing you guys on the next one.